Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to see you on a screen versus in a gym, right?
Well, yes, but we need to get sweaty again.
Yes, that'll be
Summer's
happening.
coming, bathing suit weather.
Oh, yes, girl. I
Maybe.
mean, as we discussed, we used to be in there at 6 o'clock in the morning all the time, so it's got to become a habit again.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Well, I'm so excited to have Julie on the call today because Julie is actually, honestly, one of my favorite entrepreneurs right now. And that's because the Wolf family is a huge soccer family, as everybody knows. And Julie is the co founder and president of Angel City FC, the first ever female owned women's professional soccer club. Imagine that in Los Angeles.
Yep.
So that's a feat. So, for me, I think to myself, here we have this entrepreneur who has this expertise in both gaming as well as entertainment. I mean, when I looked at her bio, I was like, what hasn't this lady done? Well, I guess she needed to open a club, a soccer club, huh? A
Yep.
football club. So, how did you get into it? Tell me about this.
I mean, it's one of these, right time, right place stories. On August 19th of 2019, I went to a basketball game. So I have a mutual friend by the name of Robin Ward who created this Wild Feminist Women Who Tech Basketball League, which is a bunch of venture capitalists and technology women in LA who all happen to grow up playing basketball. So once a year, we try to get together and play some 3-on-3. Been going on for maybe 6, 7, 8 years, and I literally never been able to make it to a game. God, I don't even use the words right anymore. And
You've
so
been
I finally make it to this
reprogrammed.
game, and my good friend Karen Nortman's there, who I've known for 20 plus years. We actually played basketball against each other here in LA. I went to Brentwood. She went to Westlake at the time, which is now Harvard
Mhm.
Westlake. And when we were done playing, she started talking to us about the World Cup. She'd just come back. The women had won the 2019 World Cup. And she started telling us about this idea that she and Natalie Portman, the actress and activist, had to bring a women's professional team to LA. I think we all, were like super excited by the idea, but also like,
Exactly.
wait, what? And when we were done playing, she pulled me aside and she said, look, Natalie and I have day jobs, are really busy. You're an entrepreneur, you know how to build products, you know how to build brands, you know how to build community. Would you want to figure out how we do this? And if there's a there, maybe be part of it, and we can see what our dynamic is and if we like working together. And that was a Monday night. That following Sunday, Natalie, Karen, and I went to the Bank of California, which is now BMO Stadium, where LAFC plays, and we saw LAFC play the LA Galaxy, and I was blown away by the experience. It's an unbelievable atmosphere. Soccer, from a fandom perspective, is very different than other sports, even like your hardest core SEC, college football games. And they have the supporter section called the 3252. And there was a woman in the middle of it waving a flag that said, bring the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, to LA. And it just was a sign. And
Wow.
born and raised in LA, wanted to build something here special for us.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to say, it's pretty courageous of you.
Yeah.
You know, Obviously, even like LAFC has had their own challenges through the years, but then to like layer on the women's component of it, and we know that women's soccer is ever growing in popularity, but in addition, just the thought of taking on a challenge like that, it sounds like you're one who just likes a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so that's, I think, the definition. But this was unique. When Kara asked me if I wanted to help, literally my first response was, there's professional women's soccer in the US. Like, I didn't even know the National Women's Soccer League existed. I didn't know Alex Morgan and Kristen Press and Tobin Heath and Carly Lloyd played in the US. They didn't have a national broadcast deal. There wasn't a team in LA. And, with 11 professional sports teams here in the beach and the mountains, like, we don't need to go seek other entertainment, right? It's brought to us. In fact, we have to choose between all of them. And so there were a couple of challenges. One, not even knowing the league existed. Two, recognizing, again, born and raised here in LA, like LA is the sports capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
There are 11 professional sports teams here, including USC and UCLA. And they're all
professional teams.
Dynasties, right?
Yes.
They have legacies of winning. The Dodgers, the Lakers, the Rams are back. everybody wins. So it's not just about starting a team, but it's starting a team where you can believe that you can sit at the same table with these incredibly, great dynasties that continue to win year after year, make playoffs year after year. And then knowing just what an incredibly crowded marketplace this is. On one hand, the largest number of youth female soccer players is in Southern California. It's something like north of 10,000 girls, but they're busy on the weekends.
Exactly.
Like they are
They're
actually
basically playing soccer. Exactly.
right? So if you rely on just them as your fan base, you're not going to be successful, which meant from the beginning that we had to think about our fan base differently than the fan base for the US women's national team. We had to think about our fan base differently than, the men's clubs, LAFC and LA Galaxy. We needed to find a way to create our own community and create our own fan base and a reason for why, so that when your time is challenged by so many other things, like you have to go to an Angel City game.
So how did you do that? Like, talk to me a little bit about how do you actually carve a niche for yourself when your greatest fan base is busy, right? So are you looking for the dropouts or, or is it family? I know it's a big family thing. I'm there a lot, as you know, so it's a huge family thing, but there's more to that, more in your target audience.
Well, it started with how we approached it. We really approached it differently. We were building Angel City on the back of the U.S. women's national team winning the second time in the row the World Cup. They won in 2015. They won again in 2019. So proving again that we have the best female athletes in a global sport who want to play here. It was on the heels of the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement, where the world is at least talking about female leadership, female empowerment, pay equity, not only in the boardroom, but on the field. Right. Exactly. And US soccer, the US women's national team about to embark on their lawsuit against US soccer for pay equity. So all of these things were happening at this moment in time. And we felt like Angel City Football Club could be the vehicle to drive to a much bigger message, which for us was equity. And so we built Angel City not as a football club, but really as a global brand whose goal is to drive to equity, to build a platform that stands for equity and impact, and to have a positive impact in our community as we drive to be profitable. And that's probably the most important thing, because when you think about women's sports historically, and I believe Angel City has really changed this, it's like, it's a charity. It's a handout, right? I'll give tens of millions of dollars to the men's team and I'll throw a couple $100,000 to the women's team, right? Or I'll invest just enough to break even. And most sports teams don't make money around the world, right? So if we were going to approach it differently and say, hey, we're going to lead with purpose, we're going to have a positive impact on our community, we're going to give back to our community, and we want to drive to profitability, then if we're successful, we've actually changed the narrative, because we're not a charity, right? We're not just a business. We're showing that you can be profitable leading a different way. And so part of it was having that mindset at the beginning that we want to set higher expectations on and off the field. We want to drive to equity and use sports as the vehicle to do that. So the way we do that is to live our values and, basically to give back to the community through dollars. And we can talk about, we have an Angel City sponsorship model where 10% of our sponsorship dollars goes back into the community. 1% of our net gate ticket sales go to our players. So that was one aspect. The other aspect was, that sounds really serious, Julie, but this is fun. This is sports, right? We want to have a good time. And so when it came to that game day experience, we intentionally sought out to build a spectacle. We literally called our first game the greatest show on earth. We wanted you to we want to create a sense of FOMO, that whether you are a soccer fan or you want to go hang out with friends or you just want something fun to do for 90 minutes, you would go to an Angel City Football Club game. And we sort of modeled it after the Showtime era of the Lakers in the 1980s, right? Where you would go to a game either to see Magic Johnson or to see who Jack Nicholson brought next to him and sat courtside, right? You were going for the game or you were going for the entertainment. And so we wanted to create that with our games, and our motto has become every game is somebody's first game. So every game we're raising the bar, we're enhancing the experience, the entertainment, we're making sure that there's something for everyone. And that is not only in the experience that you have at a game, but also the price point. So this isn't a family experience. This isn't, hey, this is the same cost of going to the movies, right? No, this is, there's an experience for everyone. So if you're a family, if you're millennials, if you're, if you're older, if you want to go with your granddaughters, like there is something for everyone. And we believe that's what would make you keep coming back. And that's how we built this community, which is by leading with values and purpose and equity, it brought a different group of fans. And
it had a higher caliber of fan base, like from the get-go, because people buy into it.
Yeah.
Because it was purpose driven.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about how, we believe we have the most diverse and inclusive fan base in all of sports. We see it every weekend at games. But one of the, the best examples of the success of this, BMO Stadium seats 22,000 fans. Last summer, we played our rivals, San Diego Wave. They're our rivals. It's a big game. It's Alex Morgan against Kristen Press. We sold out 22,000 fans. The next weekend, we're playing Reign, which is the team in Seattle. And at that same time, at the Rose Bowl, there was a men's exhibition game, which was Juventus against Real Madrid.
Yeah, I saw, yeah.
Two of the top men's clubs in the world. Yeah. We were playing at the exact same time as them over the hill. They sold out the Rose Bowl at 92,000 fans. We sold out BMO Stadium at 22,000 fans. Same night, same game, same sport, just different audience.
Wow. So interesting to see and understand that you're taking market share away from them too. Everybody's fighting for the little bits. Like you said, when you have actually 11 professional teams in the area, people have choice. So you have done obviously an amazing job from a marketing standpoint of gaining that market share away from other people because of the experience that you're putting out. So when you talked about like giving back to the community and things like that, one of the things I was thinking about when you're talking about purpose, equity, all of those things, you've also done such an amazing job at giving hope to future generations that you're not going to make money as an athlete, as a female athlete.
Right.
And that there's an opportunity in that for you. And how do you go about doing that? So like here you are, this woman who comes from the investment side and gaming side, entertainment, and then you're basically like, now I'm negotiating deals for athletes. I know you had some visibility before, right? There was something that you did before this that dealt with athletes.
So I mean, not directly, except, I got to meet Becca Rue, who's the executive director of the U.S. Women's National Team Players Association, and really got to understand what their challenges are. The NWSL doesn't pay a lot, right? We were really fortunate in that last year we signed a CBA, the first time there's been a collective bargaining agreement between the NWSL and the NWSLPA Players Association, which creates rules and guidelines that are mutually agreed on by both groups so that we're in it together. That was after 10 years of the NWSL existing. Wow. And part of that was minimum standards for players. So, compensation wise, it's 35,000 to 62,000 is minimum compensation. We pay housing and auto. So it's probably in LA, that's closer to 75K, maybe all in. There's a concept of excess compensation where if players go above and beyond for you outside of their job, which is kicking a soccer ball on the field, you can pay them additionally. And it's up to $15,000. And so from Angel City's perspective, we want them to not only be professional athletes, but actually have it be their sole and only job. And so we've been really intentional about saying, we want to pay you as much as we possibly can. So outside of the contract we sign with you, how do we get you that excess compensation without asking you to run 100 clinics? Because that's going to take away from what you do on the field. And how do we leverage you and your brand and your community and your values and make connections with our partners? So like Allie Riley has her own separate deal with Klarna, right? And so we help sort of facilitate those connections so that we can then, again, help them make more money. We live in a world of a salary cap, so it's not unlimited. And, obviously you have to pay appropriately for the quality of the player and what you're getting. But when it comes to supporting the club, the question was outside of, going to events, things are going to cause, them to be tired. Like, how do we support them? And the one thing that we came up with was this program that we called the Fan Fueled program. So 1% of our net gate receipts go to our players if they use their name, image, and likeness to promote a game. So in layman's terms, Kristen Press is already going to post on social, hey, come see me play on Sunday, right? They don't have to, but they want to build their own audience. Exactly. So they will. So what we're saying is, in addition to putting that post, add the Ticketmaster link. because your connection with your fan is so much stronger than my connection with your fan, right? So
Yes.
just add the Ticketmaster link. And if you do that, I will compensate you for that in the same way that I compensate Meta or Google when I do paid advertising.
Exactly.
And so that it gets more money into the players' pockets. But the other thing it does is it tells fans, hey, if you actually care about pay equity for these players, you actually play a role. And that is going to a game, buying a ticket. Because if you go to a game and buy a ticket, the players are going to see some of that money. More importantly, if you go to the game, you're going to buy concessions, you're going to buy merch, there's going to be parking, there's more revenue for me as a club. So ultimately, I can pay players more too. So we wanted to say, like, everyone plays a role in getting to equity. And we're creating programs that make the players play a role, make the fans play a role, our sponsors already play a role. And then obviously Angel City does by creating all the opportunities.
Yeah. So, in any given day, you must be in, I don't know, 10 meetings at a minimum. So, what drives you to be an entrepreneur? Because it was like, when I read through your bio, it talks about your stepfather, I think, like being a role model for you. But like, tell me about that. Like, what drove you to want? I mean, because listen, as entrepreneurs, we all know it's challenging. There's just so many there's more obstacles in front of us than there are behind us, right? So what drives you?
It's an interesting question. I think as I get older, I spend more time thinking about this because you're so stuck when you're younger in the doing. But I've learned a lot of things about myself. I don't really like working for other people. I'd rather succeed and fail based on my own sort of skill set and drive. And I think one of the things that I've noticed is, I'm an optimist. I'm a yes and if I see something that can add value, that can enhance someone's life, that can create some enjoyment, like, I want to do it. And my go-to is that it's possible. Like, and I will find a way. I will find the people, I will find a way, I will find the money. And I find that when you're part of an organization, that's not the mentality. And I struggle with that so much. So when I say I don't like working for people, it's just because I find that I constantly struggle with the no, or slow down, or not that fast, or, get me all the information. And, I'm somebody that likes to move really quickly, get a really fast yes or no, find like-minded people. Because what I've learned now, being an entrepreneur for 20 plus years, is it's just easy to say no. Like, people's default is no. It's easy, it's fast, I don't have to work that hard. I'd rather say, oh, I missed out on that than, do the work, and succeed sometimes. Right. And so I just like to surround myself with yes people, and people who see the opportunity. And when you run your own deal, you can hire those people, and you can surround yourself with those people, and you can create a culture of yes. And, when we started planning our home opener, the inaugural opener, which was, the goal was, we're going to sell it out. We're going to get global recognition for Angel City. And we did. The Guardian did a 20-page photo essay on us, and we were going to win the game. I can only control the first two things.
Yeah.
But those were the goals for the first game. And I kept calling it the greatest show on earth. And my team hated it. They're like, can you stop calling it that? Like, A, something else is the greatest show on earth, and I don't really care about that. B, they're like, it sets the bar too high. And I'm like, no. Like, that's the bar. Like, it's not just, it's not about being the best at women's sports, and it's not about being the best at men's sports. It's literally creating what is the absolute best experience for our community, for our fan base, for our supporters, for our owners, and for our players. Like, what do our players deserve? And we're going to create that. And if we truly want to create a FOMO experience, it has to be the biggest. And it's not, and the reality is, it's not hard. It's not even that much money. You just have to have the drive and intention to do it. And when someone's like, well, we're going to get a DJ, and I'm like, is that enough? I'm like, okay, we'll get a DJ and a singer. And I'm like, is that enough? It's like, okay, we're going to get a DJ and a singer. And now we're going to do a live show. I'm like, is that enough? Okay, well, now we'll add pyro and lights. And I'm like, now we're talking, right? Like, how do you, so I get energized and excited by creation and optimists. And so I just prefer to build a team of that.
Yeah, I love that, because I think you're absolutely right. It's so interesting because you just reframed my perspective. Because sometimes as an entrepreneur, I say to myself, oh gosh, I just want to go work somewhere. It'd be so much easier, And you realize that the yes and isn't always there, and that really somebody like yourself or probably like me is a rarity in an organization, because so many people are going off of the formula of what has been done.
Yep.
So I think it's a great perspective to think about the possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the podcast is called Opportunities, right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, we sort of had sort of this benefit and curse, right? Benefit, the curse was there was no playbook. There was no team that we could look at that had 3 female founders, majority female ownership group, majority female team. It didn't exist. Therefore, the opportunity was to go and build it and go and show that there's another way to bring a professional sports team to life. There's another way to build a company with purpose and profit tied together. We decided from day one that we would never sacrifice one for the other. If we do something, if we're going to drive revenue, like how do we have a positive impact and vice versa? When we started selling seat deposits for the stadium, we donated a sports bra to a young girl in need, because the number one reason young girls stop playing sports is because they can't afford a sports bra.
Yeah.
So we partnered with Nike and we gave away 22,000 sports bras, right? We start playing, 1% goes back to the players. We start bringing on partners, 10% of their sponsorship dollars goes back into the community under our impact platform of equity, essentials, and education. We gave out over 600,000 meals last year, a million pounds of food through our gardening work we did with Sprouts. We helped coach 85 different coaches.
Wow.
We supported 1,300 youth. Every Friday we do a 3-hour free clinic, and we're growing that to 4 locations and eventually to 104 locations. And so, they each drive each other, and we've just been really intentional from the beginning. And if I walked into an organization that said, hey, we haven't taken $1 yet, but we're going to get 10% of it away, they would have been like, are you crazy?
Exactly.
But the reality is that model drove more purpose-aligned brands to us. It drove higher revenue, because if I'm going to give some away, I'm going to have to actually ask for a little bit more. And at the end of the day, what I'm asking for is still significantly less than what any men's team would ask for, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is true, by the way. Well, but we know that that's actually a demise of women often. The question that I have for you is, what's the dream with Angel City? Like, what do you want to do with it? You mentioned like basically that the San Diego team, the Waves, right,
Yep.
is your competitor. And what makes them your competitor, other than the fact that they're obviously here in California, but in addition, maybe they have longevity as winning. But what really is driving, like, my dream for Angel City FC is this, and we have no competitors, because I'm number one.
So San Diego is our competitor on the field. That's about it. No, I mean,
definitely not through.
We really do want to. No, we don't have a competitor. Like, we drive more revenue than any women's team. We have more sellouts than any women's team. We've sold merch in 51 countries. We've had over 51 people from 41 countries come to our games. We've sold merch in all 50 states. And so, our ultimate goal really is a global brand. Because if I am a global brand, I can drive more attention awareness, that can drive more revenue, drive more impact. Where Angel City Football Club is really just the first expression of this brand. Maybe we create a tequila line, or, a media company. Maybe we go buy other teams, right? But the idea is to show the world that you can have a bigger purpose and build something a different way. When we look at sports teams, we look at the global appeal of a Yankees or a Liverpool or a Barcelona, right? But at the end of the day, Apple has more impact on one's life than any of those, right? So if we can stand for, again, align with you based on values of setting higher expectations, of giving back, of addressing, giving opportunities to minority women business owners, and giving opportunities to our youth, and saying, look, it's not just about having access to a soccer team, but it's like, do I have the transportation there? Do I have the sports bra that if I get there, I can actually play, right? So it's looking at that whole ecosystem. But, we want to be a $1 billion company. We want to be a global brand. We want to get women pay equity. And that starts with athletes, which is going to take time. And we recognize that. But the more we can raise the bar, we're starting to see it even the NWSL. San Diego's seeing over 15,000 average fans. We've about 20,000 average fans. Kansas City is doing it a different way. They are literally changing the landscape of Kansas City. They are building a stadium, a 12,000 seat stadium that will start with Kansas City Current, the women's soccer team, but obviously other teams will play there. But it's a purpose-built stadium for $120 million, where their first tenant is actually going to be women's football. And so it's just showing that if you invest, the returns are there. You just have to stop waiting for them and try to lead. And that's what's been really exciting to see.
Yeah. You're changing an ecosystem, basically, like one player at a time, one person in your organization at a time, one different patron that is purchasing tickets at a time. So it's like, we know that ecosystems take at least 10 years to change, right? You started something new, so you were able to like rattle the ecosystem, right? And come up with something to help and solve a problem. See, that's the biggest thing. You solved something that was open, right? So you keep talking about values and the values of the club. And I love to talk about values. So tell me a little bit about what your values of the club are, because I'm not clear.
Yeah, it's a couple things. One, it's to set higher expectations, right? So that, when you think about the players, it's facilities, it's access, eventually it's pay. Same thing for setting higher expectations in our community, right? Soccer is a pay-to-play sport. How do we grow that? How do we make it so that everybody can play the sport? It's about building a diverse and inclusive environment, not only for our fans, but for our owners, for our team members, for our players. It's building a community that's reflective of LA and being intentional about decisions we make so that everyone can feel welcome. And then it's truly about being unapologetic about telling our stories, right? Women have a really hard time talking about their successes, right? And I think with Angel City, it was, we share that we've got, over 45 million in committed sponsorship revenue. We share, that we're 40% of the league revenue for the year last year, right? Wow. Because if you see the success, you can copy it, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the things that are sort of our guiding principles today. The team has sort of their other values of what's important to them, but diversity, inclusion, setting the bar high, applying that to each one of your individual areas, it's never been done in women's sports before, which sounds crazy.
Why do you think it wasn't done in women's sports before?
Look, like I said, sports is a really hard business to make money. Most of the revenue comes from media rights, then league sponsorship deals, expansion fees, and then the individual economics for individual team. In the NWSL, we don't make any money on our media rights. There's not enough money in sponsorship revenue that goes to the teams. It goes to fund the league. And up until now, the expansion fees have been in single digits, except for now, we just, sold the expansion right to the Bay Area team for $53 million. Wow. So we've, drastically increased the valuation of this league. And so there is a pathway to profitability for sure. But I think it was just, you live in a world where 4% of all media coverage is for women's sports. So it's self-fulfilling. Exactly. Right? Like, it's not on TV, so therefore nobody watches women's sports. Well, that's because it's not on TV. But I'm not going to put it on TV because nobody watches women's sports. Well, that's because you don't talk about it in your sports center, right? Yeah. And then what happens? You put it on TV, and our championship game last year, which was a Saturday evening against a World Series playoff game, did 950,000 viewers. MLS the year before did 1.1 million.
Okay.
Right? So the flip side is, if you make it accessible and you tell people where it is and when it is and how to watch, and you don't put it behind a pay gate, the fans are there. It's just that nobody spent the time to tell them. We need a change in leadership at media companies, but we also have to stop relying on media companies. And I think where women's sports has really benefited recently is just the absolute explosive growth of social, where I don't have to get all my news from Fox Sports or ESPN. If I follow Kristen Press, I know what team she plays for, and I know when she is playing. And we, Angel City, believe that has been like the biggest fundamental shift in sports, where, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, you would follow leagues first, then teams, then players. I love baseball. I live in Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn Dodger fan. Therefore, I love Babe Ruth because he plays for them. Babe Ruth gets traded. I hate Babe Ruth. I'm still a Brooklyn Dodger fan, right?
Yes.
Today, we believe it's really different. You follow players first, teams second, and leagues third. I love Kristen Press. She plays for Angel City. I now like Angel City. So what we do is spend all of our time creating content around our players to grow their fan base, so then get their fan base to support us.
Exactly.
I don't need major media companies now to tell my story. I have now 28 different platforms because I have 28 players to tell my story. And if all of the clubs do that, then we can start making our own news and prove that people care about women's sports. But when we have, we had 4 sellout games last year. We had an average of 19,000 fans per game. We had nearly 16,000 season ticket holders. This year we have 16,400 season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Like, those stats matter to change the narrative that people don't care about women's sports. And that's why we talk about it all the time. And we want our, fellow teams to talk about their successes too.
Do you think that other people, like, clearly you're leading the way in this initiative as far as, like, being one of, first of all, it's a major city. Do you think that other people are following suit with you guys?
We do. I mean, we have inbound from WNBA teams, other NWSL clubs, clubs around the world, because we've approached it so differently and been successful. I mean, that's the point. It's there's no point in being different for different's sake. We are different with intentionality. Like, we want to have a positive impact and we want to drive revenue, and we're going to do both. And so I have at least 2 or 3 conversations every single week with other clubs and other teams about how they do it. We advise all the time, because what's really unique about sports, which is unlike any other business I've worked in, is that it's a local business. Like, an Angel City fan, I'm not competing against a Kansas City Current fan or even a San Diego Wave fan. Like, so I have no problem sharing every single thing I do with San Diego, because some of it's going to work, but some of it's not going to work because it's not LA, right? And we're not competing after the same local fan. So we have no problem sort of sharing, our recipe, because you'll take what works, but we need everyone to be successful to grow the ecosystem.
Exactly. Do you think that the celebrity culture, you do have other investors and things like that that are involved that are celebrities? Do you think it's helped?
I think it was unique. I definitely think it's helped. I mean, you don't see an investment now that doesn't include a celebrity right now. So, Natalie Portman is my co-founder. We have probably 100 owners that run the gamut of, we have Eva Longoria, Jessica Chastain, Jennifer Gardner, Uzo Aduba, Lily Singh, Sophia Bush, Becky G.
So fun to go to a game because you see them all.
And they come. That's the point. Like,
and
Candace
they love
Parker,
it.
Billie Jean King, Lindsey Vonn, Abby Wambach. And so what they did was they amplified our message. They got they got a financial stake in the future of a sport that they support, or a business that they care about. And most importantly, it wasn't about the check size. It was really about them believing in our mission and our purpose, and using their platform to amplify what it is we do. So, like, I have like over $500 million in reach because of the strength of the individual platforms of my owners, them telling the story about Angel City, coming to games, wearing our kits, supporting our partners, coming to a community event, drives interest, drives fandom, drives excitement, drives revenue, drives impact. So, and every single one of them has helped. Like, no, we don't have a single investor in name only. Every single one of them has picked up a phone or come to an event, done something meaningful for Angel City, which makes them feel part of it. Jen Carter came to nearly every single game yesterday. She stopped coming when she had to start filming. She doesn't even know soccer. She literally doesn't understand soccer, but she believes in what we're doing. She loved the team, and she showed it and came to every single game. She's a pretty busy woman. So it's meaningful.
Yeah. And I think it really just goes back to, when you develop a business that is purpose driven and you're living within your value set, right? People want to follow what you're doing. And you, going back to your leadership style, and I'm sure Natalie's the same, never taking no for an answer, having the highest integrity to want to do the best thing, to bring the best initiatives forward. People want to follow that. Yeah. It's infectious. Right.
So, yeah.
I want to follow it. That's some of the that's some of the recipes for success. Right. So I always ask every guest this, and I asked you about it related to your business, but I'd love to know your top 5 core values.
Wow. Let's see. Hard work. I model what I want from others. right? I'm not going to expect you to do something if I'm not willing to do it myself, which means I'll roll up my sleeves. I mean, we have community events. I go to the garden, I pull weeds with everyone else, right? So I think that's really important. I really have to believe in what I do. So, belief and passion is really important to me. I don't want to just check a box. Life's too short and I'm away from my kids too long to not really care that I'm making a difference or believe in what it is I'm doing. I'd love for a value to be balanced, but I've not found that yet.
That could be aspirational. There's
That'll be
aspirational and core values. That could be aaspirational.
Yeah, that'll be aspirational. So I don't know if it's 5, but I would say those are the ones that are most important to me.
I'd say integrity.
Yeah, integrity's
Loyalty.
good.
You're very loyal.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've gotten to the point where it is like, I don't need anyone's approval. Like what you see, I mean, I've been told I'm too emotional. I've been told I'm a horrible negotiator because like you can read everything on my face and how like all of those are negative, but I see those as a huge strength and you know what I stand for, right? And you know what I believe in. And
you're never going to do something that you don't want to do. That's definitely,
never.
Yeah, that's not your style. So, and I value that.
Right.
Because you know where you stand. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Times.
The bottom line is that there's many people in our city that will put on a nice smile and say that they will do something and don't always follow through. So I think it's a testament to who you are.
Yeah.
So listen, I could talk to you forever. We have so many things to cover still. How do you do it running a business and being a mom? That's my last question.
I mean, I think any mom would tell you that you don't know any other way, right? So you prioritize look, it's taken a long time to sort of figure it out, but prioritizing what's important. My biggest challenge is I have this like I have a need to respond, right? I can't sit on anything. So like if an email comes through or like I have to respond, and that's been really so what I've worked a lot on is like no one has the same sense of urgency that I have. I've not met a single person who has the same level of urgency as I have. So if I slow down just a little bit, that then makes room. But I think COVID was really helpful in that it showed the world that everybody has a different work style and still get the same amount of work done. Like I'm really good in the morning. By like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, like I'm not as productive. Like you put me into meetings, but I'm not going to get any work product done, right? And so
your best ideas aren't in the afternoon.
Yeah, right. And it's like just this idea that it's okay to have a flexible work schedule now. It's okay if I take my kids to school and you don't see me till 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. Like that has helped me a ton because I've been able to prioritize my kids more now.
Different perspective.
And be okay with when I start and when I finish. They're a little bit older, which makes it a teeny bit easier. And they also have a strong understanding of what I'm doing, which is really unique.
Yes.
But
that's nice because you can share it with them.
Yeah.
They can be present for games and enjoy it and being a part of your community. It's a bigger mission, like you said. And I think, like you said, if you're not loving what you do and are not passionate about it, I mean, that's what they're seeing. You're oozing that onto them, right? So, I mean, beautiful testament to who you are. So I want to thank you for your time today. Great tidbits of information. And I highly encourage every person that listens in around the world, for that matter, to not only tune in when it is on air, but also to experience it live. It is a favorite thing for my family to do and participate in. And we get to see Julie and all her friends and her sister. And it's a great hour and a half, 2 hours that you get to spend with family and friends. And it's clean and it's good food and alcohol. Right. And great, seeing amazing players, really amazing players. So really inspiring. Thank you for bringing that to life. And if there's anything that you want to tell people about before we get off the call, like where to purchase tickets, like anything about Angel City would be amazing. Yeah. So go to angelcity.com to buy tickets and rep us and buy merch. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at We Are Angel City. But if you can't make it to a game, you can watch Angel City, a 3-part documentary on HBO Max that's live today. Yeah, which I'm actually super excited about because I think I'm in it, right? I was at your workout. They show the workout. I think you're in one of the scenes, actually. It might be scary. It might be scary. Well, speaking of which, I will see you at workout tomorrow morning because we've committed to that. And I
Yes,
know
6
you
a.m.
don't back down from your commitments. So, all right. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Have an amazing day. Go Angel City.